Good evening to you, my good evening to you, my viewers. Want to welcome you to another Wesfed Spotlight. My name is Damian Williams, and last week we had with us our youth director, Pastor Jermaine Bailey, and what a story he shared with us. We couldn't end with just part one of that interview, and so we have decided to invite him back, same place, right here on the Wesfed Spotlight, for him to continue with his interview. And so I invite you at this time to tell your friends, tell your neighbors, subscribe, like, and share. Just want to welcome Pastor Jermaine Bailey to our Wesfed Spotlight.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brother President Damian. It's a delight and pleasure to be able to share again in this riveting and pulsating experience, just to encourage someone to be on the journey. Thank you, sir.
We are indeed happy, sir, that you could find the time to join us another Sunday afternoon where persons might be sitting in their dining hall, might be sitting around their table eating their rice and peas and chicken, enjoying the afternoon. And so just before we go right into the interview at this time, we will be praying. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you so much for this another opportunity where we can share with this live audience. We want to pray, Lord, that you might speak to someone this evening, speak to their hearts, and help that the story that Pastor Bill will be sharing will inspire someone. Bless the program this afternoon. Be with all of us, I pray. For Christ's sake. Amen. Last week, Pastor Bailey, I can tell you that the story that you started off right there in the Annex Gardens community, I tell you, it was indeed an inspiring one. I took some note from what you have said. You grew up in that community. You experienced gunshot, firing of guns, and you experienced all that ghetto would have had. Now, we took you, Pastor Bailey, to the journey where you spoke about your childhood years. You grew up with 14 siblings, mother and father in one room. You and your siblings were in one. And you also shared with us that a mad woman, listeners, viewers, a mad woman in clean clothes, you heard her talk about Adventism, and that influenced you to become an Adventist. You did not like Adventists, but here you are today, accept the Adventist pastor. Talk to us, Pastor Bailey.
Well, again, as I said, the truth is there are some religious rituals that Adventists profess that allows them at time to be a little bit on the, the bossy side. They were proud. But little did I understand then that it was a Christian pride, the fact that God has been so good to them. Then the second thing was that I felt that Seventh-day Adventists they believe that they're the only ones God has done things for. And so that was one of the reasons why I felt somewhat that, these people are, too weird. And then some of the guys I grew up with, I remember this guy, Charles Anderson. I call his name for emphasis. Charles Anderson was one of the guy in the community who would have been a Seventh-day Adventist and a very good one. One of the things that I discovered again with Charles, and I never forget this, it might be a little bit comical, but I think it is good to share, Sir Damien, because what happened, Charles was the one who taught me to pick up the cross and to follow Jesus. And he literally took the heaviest item in his house, the heaviest furniture, put it on his shoulder, and would carry it around the playfield several days. Man, what are you doing? oh, I'm learning to bear my cross, because the Bible explained that we must pick up our cross and to follow Jesus. So I said, man, this guy is a fanatic. This guy is an idiot. But then little did I know that he was new in the faith. And so he was zealous about it. So that was something again that turned me off. But I've discovered some things that in the midst of that, they were loving people, caring people, passionate about the mission, and they were purpose driven. The mission was inside of them. Hence, when I made my transition from being a first day worshiper and now come into Adventism, I understood clearly why is it that they were so excited, because they were buzzing with joy. They were excited about the love of Jesus. They want to share it to everybody. They pass none by. And so when I expressed to become a member, my mother was very sick then. My mother was sick, and as a result of that, when I walked up to be baptized, I remember the lady, Sister Barrett, came to the house and told my mother that, hey, your son expressed a desire to become a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. And so my mom said, well, the truth is, if there's nobody else in the house who's a Christian, he certainly is. And if he decides to become a Christian, I'm not going to stop him. I said, wow, this was really good. And so I got baptized. The truth of the matter is, my brothers and sisters who are online, they will tell you, they gave me 7 days to stay in church. And then after 7 days, I would say, okay, I'm still at church.
I stop you right there, Pastor Bailey. You said that they gave you 7 days.
7 literal days.
Wow.
7 literal days.
No, Pastor Bailey, you move from being a person who didn't like Adventists, and now you become an Adventist, and not only become an Adventist, but you were active in church.
Yeah.
Now talk. You got baptized.
I became active through several things. One, the truth is, one of the things that I pattern, and I'll never forget it, and I've always expressed it, even in my district, there was something that was happening in Trenchtown, because it was like an epidemic. Most of the guys who I would have grown up with, they too became members. In fact, some of them became members before I actually become a member. And when I became a member of the Trenchtown Seventh-day Adventist Church, what we used to do to encourage each other, so we have lanes and streets. So right there, some persons who live the farthest end, he would walk come to my house. He would stop, wait for me, and then I would get ready, and then both of us would walk along. We'd stop to the next person's house. We would stop just the same, wait for that person to bathe, because cell phone was never the thing. And so we did that. So it was like an epidemic along the way. So we wait for each other. So we move into groups, and into groups upon groups upon groups and upon groups. And so what happened now, if the person who lived the furthest end is not ready, not going to church, then I have to start there's a cycle. So I would be the one to get ready, stop by Richard's house, stop by Presley home, stop by Ever. So all of these persons. And so that's what happened. But if you permit me, one of the things that I remember, we started out by doing what we call, well, there was no name to it. It's now I can put name to it, because we'd have vastly grown into some things. But we were the guys, we started playing football. We were natural footballers. And so we start a church league. We talk about church league, seven of us, we talk about the gang of seven for football. So man, we had a fun time. So we used to play football with the other guys. We played even football with guys who were notorious gunmen. We played football. So we moved from 5 to 7, from 7 to 9, until we have 11 persons. So we were playing the big field, the scrimmage was, 6 aside and 5 aside and so forth. Yeah. Then we start playing the big field football. That's what we call it in jungle. So can you imagine a Sunday? Let me create the poetic picture in your mind. where I live is in the center of Mexico, where there's a football field. Right above the football field is lot 15 phase 7 Onyx Gardens, 15 and 16. And so what happened? We started playing football. What was the football like? We decided to play church guys against Orleans, Christians against Orleans. And man, trust me, back then I was a little bit skillful than now. So I like to take the ball, to dribble, to wheel, to turn. And once you come to me, I have to salad you or to pile you. Probably those who don't know, I like to shift you. And so every now and then, when you pass them, man, they will thump you in the ribs. They will knock your feet. They will do this. You drop, you can't do anything because remember, hey, guys, you are playing with gunmen. You can't do anything. So it allows us to become more tough Christians. Little did I know that doing that was preparing me for something that I have no idea of, becoming a tough Christian. Can you imagine when you finish playing, you have a lot of aches and pain to deal with. You have been thumped here, you have been punched here, you have been kicked here, you have been boxed here, and man, it was like that. But guess what happened? We left an impression upon their mind. Little did we know what was happening. These 11 players were all living in Onyx Gardens. Then this thing spiraled now to Trenchtown Church. We started what we call, again, there was no name, but we started sport evangelism. It's amazing to know that right there in Trenchtown, we won many persons to the church. If I may say, interject and say to you, Sir Damien, Trenchtown Church was known for the place where most pastors would never want to pastor. In fact, the only pastor in my time would have stayed the longest, and that was 3 years. He migrated early because he catch on to the vibes and was able to flex with the folk. So Trenchtown Church operated for years without pastor.
Yeah, Pastor Bailey, you know, when I'm listening to you, Pastor, and I realized that you could have gone international in the football era or the football professional. Well, but you stuck to your vision of becoming a minister because you were active, of course, in the Trenchtown Seventh-day Adventist Church, and you had a plan. Now, talk to us, Pastor, about your involvement at the Trenchtown Seventh-day Adventist Church, where you are active member.
Look, lovely. One of the things about Trenchtown Church, right? Trenchtown Church is a dominant church of intellectual giants, and so the truth is, when we enter into Trenchtown, there was not much space for us as a ghetto boy. There are persons with their masters, with a PhD, persons who are medical doctors, persons who have gone to higher levels. And so these persons would have been in the starting point of Trenchtown, would have migrated out of the area, now live into their areas and to travel in. So it was really difficult. But what we did, we created ministries. And so our ministries would have been in sports. So we were playing football. Then I became an active cricketer because I gave up football for 2 reasons. One, I had a fight. I got into a fight with this guy. My brother came to my rescue. Oh, thanks to my big brother. He came to my rescue because but the guy was, I mean, each time I tried to pass the guy, shift the guy, and to score a goal, he would do some things. And that was not like the bad guys. And so I decided I'm not going to take this anymore. So I end up retaliating as a footballer. And so the day the thing got broad and my brother came in, rescued me, and he conquered the gentleman for me. And then I said, no, Ben, this thing not going to work. And so I ventured off into cricket, and I became a talented cricketer. My brothers would tell, they were surprised. And so I was even selected to play among West Indies youth cricketers. So I played with Wavy Lions, I play with Powell, I play with Gale, I play with Chandapal, I play with all these guys. And guess what happened? Even when I went to Boystown and Kingston to play, we call it Kingston cricket team, sorry. I then and there I started. And so Trenchtown adopted that type of ministry where Trenchtown team produced one of the best, finest footballers. And so that was our ministry. So we baptized quite a few persons who came footballers. So Trenchtown had one of the best football team. Then from there, along with other guys, they would transition me into becoming an usher. We became start doing little bits and pieces, a Bible worker, volunteer Bible working. And so from then to Lay Preachers Institute, even all of that, I was very shy, but at least I was a trained lay preacher. And then, man, that was something else.
Yeah. So early ministry began at the Trenchtown St. Adventist Church, Pastor. Now, I'm seeing here from chicken to congregation. Last week, you shared with us that you practice on the chickens. Talk to us about that era, because I want to hear that. I'm sure that the listeners want to hear that aspect of your life, Pastor.
Quite an interesting piece. My mom got excited. Remember, I was on the verge. Remember, my brothers, my sisters, they gave me 7 days till they gave me a month. They gave me a month and a half. They gave me 2 months, and I was just going. 6 months. Okay, the last month, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And they said, "What? The boy gets serious, man." And so what happened? My mom used to rear chicken, and so in those days, when my mom killed those chickens and put them in the deep refrigerators, they were tough, hard like a rock. And so they will weigh 13 and 14 and 15 pounds. And so while they were there, I would ensure, get there in the thing, and I would lift my hand, lift the chicken up and put it in water. I said, "My dear chicken, is because you love Jesus, I baptize you." Whoosh! And then the water will splash. So that was the excitement. So my mom was like, "Lord, what am I going to do with this boy?" See, this is when I turn past and I host power. And so, that is where exactly it came from. And then, no, the article was written some years ago. I think it was 2014 on my ordination, and I was interviewed, and I told them where it all started from. So I was never given much of the opportunity to preach. So I practiced on my brothers and my sister. Man, I preach on them. I preach on the chicken. I baptize the chicken. And, every day I would just preach. I walked down the bottom and I was preaching. And hey, that was when I said, okay, all right, I need to take that step further. So it started right there.
We're talking to Pastor Jermaine Bailey, the youth director for the West Jamaica Conference. He shared his soul last week, and we decided to invite him back with us this week on the Wesfed Spotlight. For those who are watching, please subscribe, like, and share, as we are having a wonderful time here on the Wesfed Spotlight. Please invite those of your friends to watch this program. It's a life-changing story here with Pastor Jermaine Bailey. Now, Pastor, talk to us a little about Charlie Smith High School.
Woo. Wow. Charlie Smith. All right. I got to Charlie Smith Comprehensive High School. While I was there, excited as a little buzzing, new baptized, new convert, didn't know the Bible. And so it's up and downhill. One of my most bizarre experience at Charlie Smith was the day when I entered, I think it was 8th grade, and I bumped into this guy who was a Seventh-day Adventist. I don't want to call his name, but he was a lay preacher, one who would have been used a lot in East Conference to preach. And so what happened, when I got there, I started meshing with quite a few of the guys. As you would have known, football, cricket became my hobby, and basketball and those stuff became my hobby. So I was a sport-oriented person. And so when all of that transpired, we used to relate to the Bible. And remember, talk about the Bible, I couldn't find the relevant text. I couldn't find the text while talking, but I could quote them or paraphrase them. And so what happened? The guys, they were mocking me and jeering me. Said, "Listen, you have to find them." And so I was relating to them about the story of Noah, yeah, Noah and the ark. And so while I was telling them, they said, where find it? So man, I was trying to find the book of Noah and the ark, trying to find the books. I'm going through the index, searching, flipping the page, can't find it. But I was telling him, said, tell me where. And I'm like, I can't say I don't know where, but at the same time, I'm trying to, I also was confident about it. And then only to realize that there's nothing at all in the Bible called the book of Noah or the book of the ark. Right? So that was an embarrassing thing. What it did for me though, I left Charlie Smith, I think 8th grade, if my memory serves me well. I left at 8th grade and I did not go back to school until 9 months after. What did I do that 9 months? I read the Bible right through 9 months. I did not go back to school, to Charlie Smith School. I stayed home. My mom was worried about me. My dad, he was worried. Everybody was worried about me. Then one of my eldest sister, who I believe she's online, Sophia, a family member, I can call her. Sophia was like our second mother. When you come from a large family, you understand you have mother, those are the big ones. And so what happened? I couldn't tell him what happened. But I was so embarrassed. I felt so bad. I disappointed God in my righteous indignation. I should have known better. So I came home and I read the Bible. Did not go back to school. But guess what happened? When I went back to school, it was like a different Jermaine. So we jumped over into 9th grade. So obviously that took me from a range 2 to a range 3 because I didn't do any exams, but I was transitioned to 9th grade. So I said, all right. So I had to work my way. So that's where the transition again started. So at least I have a knowledge now of the Bible, so I could relate. This was the amazing stuff. When I re-entered Charlie Smith, now they call me the walking Bible. So they said, no, what we are going to do, tell us exactly where the chapter is, the verse is, we will find it and read it. So that was the transition. So I became so zealous. That this was another thing my sister will remind me, and she asked me to say it, and I've got to say it. I don't want to disappoint her. Please allow me to say it. My brothers and sisters, they say, okay, I'm a fanatic. And so, when it comes down to summer holidays, my brothers, every one of them, we have a little place we call Prince. My brother start laughing. He just texts me. So the thing is, Prince was the hot spot. It was like a little party place because I've never been to a party. I've never been to a dance. I've never smoked. I've never drank. I've never done all of these. So my brother, they decided they want me to come. So I said, all right, I am going to come, but I'm going to stay outside. So each one of them had their liquor. They had their beer. They had their dragon. So what I did, man, I got a beer bottle and I rinsed out the beer bottle and mixed some sugar and water, put it inside the fridge and let it chill. So when we all dressed to go to Prince, they had their beer. I had my sugar and water in my beer bottle.
What a story, Pastor Bailey. What a story. What a story. Talk about Charlie Smith High School. You at grade 8, you took a break and you returned. What a story, Pastor Bailey. Now, talk to us about your vision of wanted to go to university. Did you always want to continue your education? Talk to us about that aspect.
Well, the thing is, the truth is, my family knew that I had this business idea because I started taking care of myself, and I said myself and my other siblings when I was still at primary school. I had this business mind. I was an entrepreneur. I would buy Regulus, Isomine, peppermint, ginger, axe, name them, those big old bunky sweetie, those type of things. And so once you see me, you see me with stuff. So I used to buy these and sell them. And then after that, after matriculating to high school, at the grade 10, my brothers, they were privileged by my dad to do summer work. My father was gifted foreman, gifted construction person. And so they were privileged to go with my dad because probably of my Christian background, my dad didn't want to take me because when you go on a site, you know what it takes. So they were privileged to hustle money. I didn't, so I had to get my own money. So I transitioned from selling those to now expanding my business to now buy 3 cheese chip, buy 3 biscuit, buy 3 cheese crunches, buy 3 crackers, buy 3, and I will sell them. So right there, the vision of wanting to go further. But my life was going up until it became at a standstill. I fell right back on my back. Many instances. One, playing football at the same time while selling, guys just took the stuff and start eating them. So it, automatically the business run down. And then still fighting to go along to proceed in the business. And then when I reached 5th grade, I said, okay, yeah, I think I want to go to NCU. I want to go study. Man, right there, that was when everything was at a standstill. On the 31st of May, the Bailey's family entered into what we call a dark spot, a dark period. Our mom who went away died suddenly. Went to Canada, was playing netball with the guys, said to her, listen, hey, I want to go home. Bam. On her way home, they took her inside, she died. Bam. Her brain cells burst. The blood became clot, sank on the brain cell and killed her. That was a downhill. Devastated. I became mad. I was upset with God. My brothers, my sisters, they all turned at me. The only Christian in the family, they all turned at me. And trust me, it was never a good sight. I became mad with God. I said, God, I am done with you. I'm not talking to you. God, I have nothing to say to you. And right there, guess what happened? Even though I was in gripped silence with God, I would still bathe on Sabbath, go to church. I will never read. I will never pray. I will never study. I sit in church for the place of comfort. Only to realize that the place you thought would have been the place of comfort became the place of misery. But right there in my misery, God turned my misery into a message.
Wow. Misery into a message.
Right there. With this in mind, okay, my own church said, okay, Jermaine, I see your passion. I see your dream. We're going to send you to NCU. Bam. Guess what happened? Sitting my CXC examination. My mom died. The first exam I took, my mom died. I came home. We heard the news. My mom died. I never took up a book. I never went to an exam room. Again, I was through with God. Worse yet, I was still showing a face at church. Guys said, oh, Jermaine, that's just death. That's just death. But they didn't understand what this meant to me, meant to us. But right there, this was the amazing thing, Damien, that happened. The amazing thing in that moment, in my mess, I said, God turned my misery into a message. Then guess what happened? I thought the message would have been the loudest message and the clearest message. But then after a misery to a message, then guess what happened? A mess. No, I into a mess, he turns me into a messenger. Can you imagine?
Repeat that for us, Pastor Bailey.
I had my own misery. God turned it into a ministry. Then I now had my mess, and he turned me into a messenger. That was the greatest thing. I was wondering, wow, how this? But guess what happened? Each time I think I've lifted the ladder, each time I think I've stepped a little further, guess what happened? I'm only dragged down. They told me, oh, Jermaine, I'm sorry. My sisters, my brothers, they came from Canada. They say on the day of the final, oh, we can't send you again. We can't give you the scholarship again. We're going to give someone else. I said, okay, with tears.
Wow. Wow.
Ah,
Wow.
ah,
Going
that
through
was
all of these difficulties, all of these challenges, Pastor Jermaine Bailey, you still held your head high because you had a goal in mind. And despite the challenges, you wanted to continue your education. Now, talk to us about your transition into NCU. Talk to us about that period because I'm sure
well.
that the money did not there at all. Talk to us
Well,
about that.
it's I guess I may pause to say to the viewers, we are fast forwarding some things, so you have to catch us on the go. Some things might sound in pieces, but the patches. The thing is, in my latter part, remember I was sitting examination. Obviously I failed all of them. I failed all of them. So now I can understand. But what was the most revealing revelation I have received? Not this is not the first time, this is the second time. Again, when I said I'm mad with God, I'm done. Going to bed, wake up early again, God appeared again on the wall in concrete jungle. God appeared, he called my name, he spoke to me. Man, I shake off everything. The following morning, I went to Crossroad to the overseas examination. I stayed home. I stayed home and did all my CXC, got them, transitioned now into Northern Caribbean University. Whew, this was it. Guess what happened? My first year, mark you, remember, again, it was not any bad thing. And I'm sure this might be viral to many places. Guess what happened? At first, the first attempt, NCU never wanted a jungle guy, never wanted a ghetto guy to study. So I was never accepted. And then I made my way up there, discovered what was happening. So now I was accepted after, but I was placed on probation. While I was on probation, whoa, friends, it was another thing. My first year, I was working full time. I couldn't start classes, no money at all. I spent 14 days on the campus, eating nothing at all. When I
14
went back,
days.
14 days, 14 days. My sister Suzette, who's online, don't want to hear this, but I remind her every time. When I left NCU, after 14 days, I went home. I borrowed some money because I had $500. I traveled on the campus with a suitcase with a lot of clothes, only banana chips, and no money to go back. Yeah, banana chips done early, finish early. So when I came back, this guy Lennox Brown, who migrated, he's from Trenchtown, migrated, he's now in the States. He said he's going to Kingston. I said, I want to come. I'm going to my family. When I reached back at Jungle, my sisters, they all had a chorus of crying. And remember, you know, when family comes together to holler, to ball, it's not a nice thing. You hear bass, baritone, soprano, alto, tenor, and you hear those who can't ball good a ball. They
Yeah.
saw my collarbone, the exact words. They said that there was a baptismal pool in my collarbone. I
Oh
became
my.
so slim. I remember the Sabbath. This was the Sunday when I came there. The Sabbath, I passed out. I fainted at NCU in my dorm. And I prayed a prayer that I cannot forget. God, you send me here. I don't know what you have for me, but whatever you want to do for me, do it now or else. And I fell asleep. I don't remember what happened. My roommate came in and he said, Elder, he woke me up and he gave me a box of food. Oral Da Costa, I'll never forget his name. Oral Da Costa. I told him that when my book is completed, don't be afraid, brother. Your name is logged and chronicled in that book because it's a life experience. And guess what happened? I worked my first year. They took off every money off my account. Remember, I didn't know that I have to find a job and all of this, and so all of the process. And so I'm rushing because I don't have time. And so I had to work 2 years My first year, no money was on the account. The second year, the same thing happened. And so I had to do it. So what should have been a 4-year journey of study took me more than that. It took me 8 years plus. 8 years plus.
Now, listeners, viewers, let me tell you this. Our guest, Pastor Jermaine Bailey, he told you earlier that you have to fast forward this story because it's too much to share. Part 1, part 2. We'll have to go part 3, part 4, Pastor Bailey. I tell you, this is really a touching story. A man that is coming from the ghettos of Arnett Garden, experienced so much, had so much challenges, but he went to NCU and he did well, despite he did not have all the money, but the Lord took him. Viewers, young people who are viewing, I'm encouraging you to persist. Don't give up despite the challenges. You're hearing it from the man of God, Pastor Bailey. He would have gone through all the challenges, but he's here today. Pastor Bailey, talk to us now about ministry. 20, at age 35, you were ordained as a minister of the gospel. Talk to us about that, Pastor Bailey.
All right, amazingly. All right. I mean, there's so much. I know my sister would want me to say this. Obviously, in my latter years of Charles Smith, I remember when I was graduating from Charles Smith High School, my brother, they said that they want to take me out, so they decided to take me out. We went to a place in Ochiweas where my family, where my mother is originally from. Then after that, my brother decided he's going to take me somewhere. So I was in the car, they were taking me to party. They want me to experience party life, party, the reflex. And so they took me from St. Anne to St. Mary to take me to that party place. And trust me, I told them that I'm determined, I'm not going to go. And so they said, all right. What they did, they came out of the car and they said, okay, let's see what's going to happen. They locked the door, they're going to go to the keys, I must follow them. I stayed there outside of that car for 4.5 hours. They went inside the party. Where was I? I was on top of the car. I was lying down and I was sleeping. But ministry, amazing. Yeah. What is amazing though, my first preference was always East Conference. Yeah. And this I want to be interpreted in the correct way. Things never went well at East Conference. Yeah. They were amazed and they were taken aback that this guy, how could it be that a guy from concrete jungle, I've never been to prison, never been locked up, and now is in ministry? There should have been some screening. Never went well, by my left, fine. But one of the things that was good, while I was at NCU, I've always dialogued with and was associated with Pastor Trevor Reed, because I would have, one of the reasons why I ventured into the business field, became a chef, was that I had to take some break from school because I could not pay my bills. So I migrated first to America. After going to America, came back, thought things would be better, never worked. So I now traveled to England, and that's how I became a head chef, start working in the catering industry. So things became nice, really nice. And so that allows me now to go back and then to do some other stuff. Then let's get to the part of ministry. Ministry, it was always my zeal. So when I came to West Conference, dearly dear West Conference. West Conference was the peak of everything, what I loved most. And being there at West Conference, long road, long journey, but I've had some real challenges. At times, I want to go home. I want to go back to jungle. At times, I want to be where my family are. At times, I want, because it was really lonely. And I remember one of the roughest time when I was employed and placed on budget. I was lost in the system, lost in the system.
Yeah.
But with perseverance, my prayer is simple this: God, you took me a mighty long way, and I know at a crossroad in my life, you're going to take me. You put me at this crossroad each time I see hurdle because I'm an intrinsic motivator, right? What I mean by that, I use the worst scenarios and experience and situations to encourage and to motivate me. So I'm an intrinsic motivator. So when I'm at a crossroads in life, I use that as a rest spot, a rest period. So you think that is the worst thing happened to me? No, I'm at a rest spot. God, you have taken me so far. No, you put me here to pause, to rest a while. And then after being there like Jacob about to climb the ladder, I said, Lord, whenever you're ready to take my hand again to lead me, just do it. But I know I'm at a rest spot. Yeah, that's my thing. It's a rest spot. So I'm stopping here to get some fresh glimpse, some fresh oil, fresh anointing, fresh touch, fresh water. But I'm at a rest spot. I'm using the bathroom. I stop at the gas station, but I know that when you're ready for me, God, you're going to take me further. So that is one of the things that motivated me. So my ministry was never one with the fancy flair thing.
Yeah.
My entrance was humble, and then I was placed at the precious place that I call Little London District. Wow, Little
Pastor,
London District.
yeah, Pastor Bailey, you know, I'm going to put you on the spot at this time. I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm sure that you did not prepare for this question, but listeners are viewing this program, and you know Pastor Bailey. He's a man always smiling, always jovial. Talk to us, Pastor. What really causes this jovialness among you as you traverse through the different eras of ministry? What really caused this, Pastor? You always laugh
Uh,
and smile
do-
and have fun. Because a man coming from the ghettos and you shared with us that you had struggles at high school. You went through NCU struggles. You enter into ministries struggles. What caused this smile and this
uh,
jovialness, Pastor?
I tell you the amazing thing. I tell you what happened. My family would tell you that I wasn't the type. I was short tempered. Short tempered. That's what I find. Most people I tell they were alarmed by such. Short tempered. Don't mess with me. And if you try, as much as I couldn't fight, I would be the first because I know I have competent brothers and sisters who are willing to come to my rescue, which they do several times.
Yeah.
But I was short tempered. What
Yeah.
one of I think what is it the main thing that caused this transitional change
Yeah.
in my approach being a smiley, jovial person. When I thought I completed NCU, I make it quick as possible.
Yeah.
Migrated to because I've worked in England. Migrated now to England, working as a sous chef, as a chef de partie, as a executive chef. So those three areas I was working as. I've suffered from the time I returned headache for about 7 years, constant headache for 7 years.
Mhm.
And when I went to England, still working, that pounding, pelting headache continues. They asked me to see a doctor. It was an African doctor in England. And when I went inside, I told him what I was going through. He asked me several questions, and I answered him the best way I knew. And he took me to one side of his office. He took me to the other side of his office. He carried me inside. To me, it was the dining area. All I saw was ketchup and salt and pepper and all of these. And trust me, the gentleman gave me a full dosage of jokes.
Full
Jokes,
dose.
full dose.
Yeah.
The dose became dosage. And so what happened? He had me there laughing, talking, laughing. And then he said to me, after a long period, he said to me, how are you feeling now? I said, well, I'm feeling all right. He says, go away. That was the turning point in my life. I said to myself, Jermaine, if you can't fix it and you put it in God's hands, then leave it. But not only leave it, claim the fact that you have left it in his hand. And so as a result of that, I became that type of person that I am going to know, smile, the medicine of life.
Yeah.
Laughter is the medicine of life.
Yeah.
And I taken that approach. Guess what happened? The best way to help yourself transition going forward is to fight the way you know, but at the same time, once you turn it over to somebody else, leave it like that. So that is what I've used to help me.
Yeah.
Right.
You came into ministry. You started off in St. Elizabeth. You moved to Westmoreland, where you served the Little London District of Churches.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, viewers, that he had some great successes in that district. You also is a trained senior youth, trained master guide. You move on to the parish of Hanover. You serve there well, and you are now called to youth ministry, such a large ministry in the conference. Now, I'm sure that you will have displayed quality in your leadership. And the reason why you're called pastor, because you have demonstrated the love and the passion for young people. Talk to us about 2 months now, you were called as youth ministry director. Talk to us about the vision, because we have to hear that aspect. Talk to us about your vision for youth ministry as we move forward.
The truth about it, again, sometimes I stop and wonder why me. I'll ask that, and I'm wondering why I'm at that stage when I have surpassed that, when I used to ask why me and not why not me, right? So I thought why me was over. But when I was asked to and was appointed, I asked why me? I questioned that because, one, everybody knows that Jermaine Bailey does things differently. I think of innovation, I think of creative, dynamic way. Even if you're going, I'm a lover of ackee and saltfish, right? But don't just give me ackee and saltfish like that. French fry the ackee, bake the ackee, roast the ackee, steam the ackee, right? Curry the ackee, give me. I'm like that, right? I am creative, I am dynamic. I'm wondering, that's why I asked, wonder why me, right? But I've learned again, as I said long ago, not to ask why me and ask why not me, right? And so the truth is, my style, my way is being different than everybody else. And so I think that even though being given the responsibility, we are looking forward to do something creative, something dynamic, something innovative, not the same way, thinking out of the box, come up with creative things, creative ideas, so that we can gel together to work together. And so I'm looking forward to the experience of having a creative, collaborative effort in youth ministry. Not just the same old, but something new on the table. Because the truth about it, guess what happened? Who thought the day would come when video and cassettes will be out of place? Those are far-fetched, far gone. Who thought the day would come when you're entering your number on your phone? You have to enter *121 pound key, blah, 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 and then enter *120 to check if the credit on. It's on immediately. So we are in a dynamic world, a dynamic age. And that is one of the things that I'm looking forward to, where we can become creative, especially now in the new norm.
Yeah.
And the new norm to youth ministry, will make it a success.
I decided to ask you that question because I'm sure youth leaders right across West Africa Conference, they are watching the program at this time and they're excited to watch their youth director sharing his story. I'm sure that they did not know most of what you said. I want to thank you so much, Pastor Bailey, for really sharing your story. It's a long one, and it was just a little tips that you shared with us of your journey of success. You are now the youth director of the West Jamaica Conference, and I can tell you that we are proud of you, sir. We are proud of your accomplishment, and we are here to support what you do and to pray that the Lord will continue to give you the vision, the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that you may continue to lead God children. All right. And Pastor Bale will now ask you at this time to just give us the final word as we wrap up here from the Wesfed Spotlight.
Uh, my final word, I dovetail it two different ways. One, to I speak to the wider audience, young people in general. I'm not afraid of prison, prison situations. And let's talk about prison. I'm not talking about to become a criminal, go to prison. No. Each time you find yourself in a situation, a pragma, a circumstances, it's a prison. Every spot in your life, there are prison experience. But God will turn your prison experience into praise experience. And so you have to know what you want and go for it. The truth is, you have to settle in your mind that you are poor, but your poorness doesn't mean that you can't reach. You have to be determined, self-discipline, right attitude. This is where you have the right attitude, the right principles, determination, but you have to also keep a level of focus and have a level of charisma with you. Because you know why? When you are in your dark valleys, in your prison experience, you have to dig deep, way down inside of you to find something that you can hold on to. And that is something you have to take for yourself. And so as you speak, you need to understand that when your back is against the wall, it does not mean that the world shut out on you. The back is against the wall for a season. And so I've always said it, God knows what is best. Once you acknowledge that God is with you, then everything is all right. And guess what? You can reach the things that you never thought of. Finally, you need to know your strength and your weaknesses. You need to know your strength and your weaknesses. Your strength might be somebody else's weakness, and your weaknesses might be somebody else's strength. But don't be looking at left and right, because in my days, if you do, you will never make it. You have got to say, okay, I know my limitations, I know where my strengths are, I know where my weaknesses, and so I am going to press towards that to gain success.
I sincerely want to thank you so much, Pastor Jermaine Bailey, on behalf of the 11 pastors in the parish of Westmoreland, our executive, our AY leaders, members of the Master Guide Association, all our young people in the parish of Westmoreland. Thank you so much for taking the time out for sharing such an inspiring, such a motivational story this afternoon on the Westfed Spotlight. And this is where we say, Tata, join us next month for another Westfed Spotlight.
So I would have made contact with the Honorable Infirmary and